provided to the Co-Star, the official newspaper of the Borough of Belmar, and the Asbury Park Press on January 3rd, 2023. A notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building. Take roll call. Councilwoman Donovan? Mayor Vaca
Here.
Councilman Rondinero?
Here.
Councilman Levis?
Here.
And Councilman McKinney is absent.
Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for our first responders and those in our military, and we have a recently deceased resident.
In a moment of silence for Joyce Rizzatello, graduate of Belmar Elementary School and Manasquan High School, who worked for 25 years for the municipalities of Belmar and Waltham.
I'm going to add to, we should keep in our prayers the two firefighters and their families who lost their lives in Newark fighting the cargo fire a couple of days ago. Thank you.
Somebody else can move too, because I feel like I'm...
Okay, we have a special event right now. Two of our law enforcement employees are going to be honored by the VFW organization from Manasquan. So come on up and we'll take it from there.
Mayor and Council, it's an honor for Manasquan, I know you. It's an honor for Manasquan VFW Post 1838 to be here to honor two of your stalwart citizens. And I'm joined here by Colonel Retired Jim Bagley. Our citizenship awards are annually conducted every May, and we do scouts, first responders, EMS, students, patriotism awards. It's an annual event and makes us very proud about what we do. So I am happy to be here on behalf of Manasquan Post 1838. For those of you that don't know Manasquan Post 1838, we service Belmar, Manasquan, Riedel, Seagirt, Spring Lake. So it's a small area, but we have the opportunity to recognize citizenship in so many ways that it's an honor to be here. So our first awardee is the Dispatcher of the Year, which is an annual event. And this year's Dispatcher of the Year is Dawn Coppola. If I could say a few words about Dawn. She joined the Belmar Fire Department in 2008. Police Department. Fire, how do I do that? In 2008, I get that right.
Yes.
Was a graduate of Brick High School, Ocean County College, Police Academy in 2011, born and raised in Brick. Oversaw a major transition here in Belmar from what was to the renovation of the operations office. The whole department changeover. You were the first dispatcher appointed to the supervisory role in 2009. You love cats, you love marathons, and you love your two nieces. You were nominated by John Clayton and Lieutenant Greg Dessrich. Did I get that right? So Jim Bagley is going to present this to you, and maybe somebody would take a picture.
On behalf of the VFW of Manasquan, Belmar, Spring Lakes, and points around this area, would like to thank you for all you do for your community.
So another one of our categories every year is the Officer of the Year. And this year, our Officer of the Year is Detective Sergeant John J. Mahoney. In his 17th year of a distinguished career as a police officer. Originally from Eatontown, graduate of Manasquan High School, John knew at a young age he wanted to follow in his father's footsteps, who was also a police officer for the Eatontown Police Department. He's got degrees from Ocean County College, Monmouth County Police Department in 2006. Began his career in Manasquan, served for 7 years, transferred to Belmar, has moved up the ranks to his current position as Detective Sergeant. He's dedicated himself to continuous learning and improving his skills as a police officer. He has successfully completed Top Gun narcotics investigations as a member of Class of 47, as well as interrogation classes and a certified field training officer. John was honored by the 200 Club of Monmouth County for his outstanding performance in 2016 in the investigation of the disappearance of Sarah Stern. Of all his accomplishments, John takes the most pride in the victims he's been able to help. Over his 17-year career, John found great joy in participating in charitable endeavors within the police community. Annual torch runs, Special Olympics, distributing toys, annual Sons Friends of the Shillelagh, raising funds for ALS, and riding the police unity tour. When he's not on the job, John enjoys boating, traveling, being an uncle to his many nieces and nephews, and spending time with his lovely wife and their dog, Betty.
John, on behalf of the VFW Manasquan and the surrounding area, we'd like to thank you for everything you do for your community, and continue that great work. Thanks. Thank you. Get a picture of the two awardees and the flower box. You guys in the middle of talking around here.
Everybody else here?
Come on, don't be shy. Ready, everyone? 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
Thank Moving on, we will begin our workshop discussion. I'd like to start off with Business Administrator Kane giving us an update, or just letting us know what happened this past, actually it was before the weekend, in terms of the boat issue that we had at the marina. He has all the details.
Yeah, I'll give you the quick version, not to keep everyone. But approximately on June 21st, we had a boat arrive at the fuel dock that was noticed by marina staff. We went to the boat, find out who's about the boat. There was nobody on the boat. That happened throughout the rest of the day. The next morning, we went back to the boat, found a gentleman and 2 kids on the boat. They were transient, coming from somewhere south, heading to Massachusetts. Said there was rough weather, ducked into the marina. Personnel said they could not stay there. They put them in one of the dock and dine slips, one of the transient slips. He started, he paid for one night, paid for fuel, paid for one night, and then said, he had to get the kids back to Massachusetts. Billy, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but we've talked about it so much, I think I have it pretty good. Took the kids back to Massachusetts, trying to get the money from them. It was an issue. It progressed to Billy and I had a conversation on Friday. He said, listen, the guy's having trouble with money. It's becoming an issue. Let's get him out. So the idea was to just have him move the boat. We figure out the payment at a later date. That conversation was on Friday. Monday, July 3rd, they got a hold of the guy and said, listen, your boat has to be out by Wednesday. We'll figure out the money part of it, but it needs to go by Wednesday, July 5th. Tuesday being the holiday, 4th of July, 5:30 in the morning on Wednesday, July 5th, the boat was sunk and wedged under the dock. For those who saw it. So we had to find a company because obviously everybody was notified, County Hazmat, Monmouth County Sheriff's Office, the State Police, the Coast Guard, everybody was there and said the boat has to be removed. We found a salvage company that was available to come out on Saturday, and they came out in talking to the gentlemen that were working on the job. They said they've done about 500 of them in the past, and this was the worst one they've seen. The boat sank, rolled, and through the tide cycles got wedged under the dock. And then as the tide cycles came out, it just compressed into the sand, into the mud. They had to figure out how to roll it, push it away, roll it, lift it, and then float it. And then they floated it, put it on L Street Beach, and then the insurance adjusters were all there. Our joint insurance fund researched it, environmental joint insurance fund put a claim in, put it to the beach, and then they cleared, the insurance company, Hazmat, and everyone cleared it yesterday and this morning, and at 9 o'clock they started dismantling the boat, and by 11 o'clock the boat was completely removed off the beach. And I can't say enough for Jason and James down at the marina, and Billy and everybody at DPW, the police department, everybody that was involved. I mean, there was a lot of people involved from Saturday all the way through today, and you guys did an outstanding job, so I just want to say thank you. The plan is tomorrow, since L Street Beach was closed, the plan is tomorrow morning, low tide is at 9:30, we believe. They're going to go back, hit the beach one more time, and then as the tide comes back in, we'll reopen the beach. So again, thanks, Billy. Thank you to everyone. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question? Was the boat scuttled? Was it scuttled?
Help me.
Was it the sinking an accident, or was it a man-made accident?
We don't know that. The insurance company is investigating that.
Are they investigating into whether the police investigating into the scuttling, or what?
Yeah, they look into everything. It's everyone from Belmar PD all the way up to the Coast
I
Guard.
think that's
So
kind of an important part of the story.
Right now, we're in the workshop.
Yes, I
Will we
realize
talk
that.
about public comment?
And I just figured I'd give him the quick opportunity.
Okay, no, I understand that.
An exception, and we're going to go on without any further questions. Okay, thank you. Next area we're going to talk about amongst ourselves is the update about our Verizon situation, and I think Councilwoman Donovan is going to bring us up to date on a few things.
So to start, I know there was an article in the Asbury Park Press that people are very concerned about, so I wanted to address it up front, that there are no plans to build towers on the west side of Ocean Avenue. I saw the comments as well, and we reached out to our attorney who said he was taken out of context and was referring to the presentation that Verizon made in August of 2020 to the council, where they discussed different options, east side, west side, staggering. But as I said before, we do not have plans to make that switch. As far as an update as to where that goes, I know Councilman Montanaro will update a little bit about our meeting with the Historical Society. But as far as where it goes with the county has continued to tell us that they are very supportive and that they are behind us. But I will say that at this point, while they continue to say that, they tend to disappear when we ask them very specific questions about whether or not they've signed a permit. So we will continue to pursue that. We are hoping to engage them in a meeting here in person, and as soon as that happens, we will let people know.
Councilwoman Montanaro.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. A company called TriLeaf, it was contracted by Verizon to weed out some historical issues, and the Belmar Historical Society received a letter requesting whether there was any historical effects that towers might have within the viewshed of a historical building, site, district, structure, object. It's significant in American history. There were 7 sites, including one site by the railroad station that they had plotted and asked about. When I called to find out more information, I was told this was not just the 7, it was the beginning of the 7. So this company is researching the historical parts of our boardwalk, and Councilwoman Donovan and I met with the members of the Belmar Historical Society regarding this request for historical information, and they will reply with a letter using our historic features near the beach. However, this letter is open for public comment too. So if you would like to contact TriLeaf, as I have with my concerns, with anything you can think of history-wise that might interrupt our culture or our history or our site of view of our historic beach, you may contact Assistant Project Manager Kayla Lauer to add to your concerns, as I have added that I think it will destroy the overall historic nature of our boardwalk area, including memorial benches. Kayla Lauer can be reached at 410-853-7128, or you can email her at k.lauer@tryleaf.com. And I encourage anyone who has concerns to go and make those concerns public, as that goes on record for them. Will it stop it? I don't know, but I would rather have them hear from us than to not. And that letter will be on our website tomorrow morning, so that if you need that information again, that you can just look on our website and find it. Thank you.
Just as a reminder, those documents are in the E-code, E360 area, and there's a separate designation that says Verizon, and that's where we have all of the relevant documents that we have posted. So it'll be there tomorrow. Any other comments regarding Verizon? Okay. I'm going to briefly speak about what I'm working on in terms of the Silver Lake geese control issue. I'm working on a request for proposal to have a company come out and using border collies chase the geese away and keep them away. It's generally, as far as I can read, it's generally almost like a 2-part process. They get rid of the geese in terms of just scaring them away. There's no euthanasia involved in any of this. The dogs don't touch the geese. but they scare them away repeatedly until they're satisfied that they're not coming back. And then there's a maintenance piece, either a regular maintenance, or if we want to just call them, if we start seeing geese come back, we could do that too. So I'm trying to draft something that will make sense, so that we can have vendors respond and tell us how much they would charge us for that. We're going to be working with Mr. McGill to make sure we get all the wording correct. So I'm hoping to get that done definitely before the next meeting. Any questions on geese control? That's all I have for the work session. Are there any other comments?
The Environmental Commission has been in contact with the borough regarding the health of Silver Lake. We've been alerted there is an algae bloom in Silver Lake, which is not particularly uncommon for lakes around here this time of year, but we do want to caution everyone to exercise common sense. Please don't drink the water. Please don't let your pets in the water, and a reminder that Silver Lake is catch and release. So we will be following up. The lake today was tested by Lake Management Sciences, and we will follow up with treatment and alerts if that's necessary. DPW is aware and following. We would like to thank everyone involved, Colleen Sullivan, Drew Fromkin, and the Environmental Commission. Thank you.
If there's nothing else, we'll move on to petitions.
Something else, if that's okay. I wanted to also thank DPW for putting up the high school graduate banners and the flag banners this week. I also want to apologize to those who expressed their disappointment that the light poles looked bare during the 4th of July weekend. I was told yesterday that there weren't enough American flag banners that were in good repair to put them up alone, and that we were still waiting on the high school banners to come in. So there was some miscommunication there. I really do apologize. More American flag banners are being ordered, and now that we've been through this once, it won't happen next year. We'll be ahead of the game. So I'm sorry for those who were upset. Thank you to Kimberly Check, who designed the high school banners, and the borough for allowing our seniors to be showcased this summer. It means the world to those families. We're hoping to set up a Hometown Heroes Veterans Banner program for the fall, so please stay tuned for that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for workshop?
We have a few announcements. I also first want to start with a thank you to borough staff for the 4th of July fireworks. They were wonderful. We also have movies on the beach. They've started. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we will be showing Aladdin, which I refuse to read the joke out loud that was written here. But it involved a whole new world and a magic carpet ride. Thank you to ShopRite, which will be handing out complimentary hot dogs, hamburgers, and tacos. That will start at 6 p.m., but the movie will not start until dusk, which will be much later, more around closer to 9 o'clock. Also tomorrow, I am very excited to attend the 36th annual Sandcastle Contest. Registration will start at 8 a.m. and judging at noon, and the castles will be there until the tide takes them away. We also have the Friday night concert series, which will continue this Friday, but will also include a Friday night market. The Friday night market will be replace the farmers market to bring in the vendors a built-in audience, and so a better opportunity for success. And I'd like to encourage everyone to come out and support our vendors and our wonderful musicians. That's it.
Are we sure? Okay, let's move on to petitions.
I have not received any petitions.
Okay, then we're going to approval of the minutes.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the June 27th meeting?
Motion?
Second.
Councilwoman Donovan?
Aye.
Mayor Pavlikowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Montanaro?
Yes.
Councilman Levin?
Yes. Okay, reports of council. Councilwoman Donovan, any reports?
No.
Okay. I had some reports, but they said everything I was going to say. So that's a way of me not speaking. Councilwoman Montanaro.
The Belmar Housing Authority had their meeting last week. The scaffolding was finished around the Belmar Housing Authority building. The work was done by Superior Scaffolding, so now there isn't that danger of a brick falling on someone. The new transfer switch was installed in the elevator, so when the power does go out, the elevator can be in service through the generator. The Belmar Housing Authority will be putting out a bid for the metal channels to support the brick facade, which is awaiting specs from the engineer. Sean Keane sent a letter of endorsement to HUD, along with a follow-up from Congressman Smith's office to continue advocacy for emergency funding for this building. The facade really needs to be fixed now. They're not going to wait for that emergency funding to come in. They need to start getting those channels put in now, and just pray that we're going to get the funding to help us once that comes in. The library. The Public Library is proud to present a living history presentation, Lincoln and Grant's Friendship, featuring historian and actor Kenneth Cephas, presenting in character as U.S. Army General Ulysses S. Grant. That's Saturday, August 5th at 10 a.m. at the library. Please register online at belmarlibrary.org. The library will be holding its first summer field day on the library lawn on Saturday, August 12th at 11:30 to 1:30, featuring a family fun-filled set of literary-themed activities, including sack races, cornhole, pogo balls, ring toss, water balloons, and more. Registration is required and can be done on our website, ideal for family members aged 5 and up. The next summer concert is Tuesday, July 25th at 6 p.m., featuring Tommy B and the Deep Blue Sea. Bring a lawn chair and your love of cool, funky blues and jazz and rock music. And working from home but need to get out of the house? With free Wi-Fi, print, copy, fax capabilities, and powered workstations, the library's lower-level Tarzan Media Room is your place to get things done. I should go on radio. Use the spacious workstation to spread out, plug in your devices, and expand the laptop screen space with expansion monitors to work more easily and efficiently, and call the library for more details to confirm availability. So really, the library is very accessible, and they'd love you to come in. They want you to be a part of their wonderful new program, so please go to their website to find out more information. And I believe that is it for me.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Levis.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to reiterate, big attaboy to DPW, Jason and James for getting that boat off. It's not something that you guys are tasked with doing every day, so I appreciate the creativity. And I also want to thank Mike, I didn't get his last name, from Thomas Construction, who volunteered some of his equipment, some of his guys to help get that thing off the beach. I know a lot of residents were concerned about, whether the Friends of Belmar Harbor Camp would be able to operate on the L Street Beach, and it's really good that you guys were able to, put your heads together and get that thing off so that those kids can enjoy their week at camp. So, thank you very much for that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Since the council was so great at doing all of their reports, I don't really have anything else to report. So let's move on to the public session on resolutions.
Anyone would like to speak or about a resolution listed on the consent agenda, please step forward, state your name and address.
Mr. Creamer.
Eugene Creamer, 4th Avenue.
Then they can hear you on the recording. It's good.
Okay. Eugene Creamer, 4th Avenue. I had a comment about this, see what the number is here. I guess it's an application for a Monmouth County grant, open space grant. Yes. Resolution number 2023-172. The fourth whereas, usually whereas means a recital of facts. So it would be number 4. Whereas the Borough of Belmar is the owner of and controls the project site. That's incorrect. Yes, the borough does own block 137, lot 2, but we have limited control over the site itself. I would just change the wording there, is that the borough does have limited control. But the site itself is a encapsulated hazardous waste site. And actually anything that we do there certainly has to go first through the responsible party, and that would be Jersey Central Power and Light Company. And they may have to get approval from the Jersey Department of Environmental Protection.
Okay, well, I'm going to defer that to our
Gene, I'm going to
council.
have to disagree with you on that one because we do exercise control over that property. Maybe not total control, but we certainly do exercise control over it. So I think it's proper.
If you think just the word control, we're talking about development here. In other words, anything that would be, that the county grant would include would be development or improvements made to the site. This has been historically, the town has had and signed agreement with Jersey Central Power and Light Company, I guess going back to about 1970. And actually, the last time, that was only a couple of years ago, that the basketball courts were resurfaced. That work was paid for by Jersey Central Power and Light Company. Now to go to Monmouth County looking for money to make improvements to a hazardous waste site, I think we're actually barking up the wrong tree here. Why not go to Jersey Central Power and Light Company? They are the responsible party here.
Well, Gene, I'd have to go back to the agreement to look at those issues, but the issue that you brought up was whether or not we exercise any control over that parcel, and we do.
Yes,
So,
police power.
But, yeah, and development powers, and we're in an agreement, which I've read, but don't have it in the front of my mind here, so we do exercise considerable control. So when we're just talking about whether or not the wording of the resolution is correct, I think that it is. I don't think it's going to offend anybody, and I don't think it's inaccurate.
Well, that's fine. If you're not going to do it, I'll contact Monmouth County directly and inform them.
And do what? Ask them to change the resolution?
No.
That's what you brought up.
No, I just think we should be transparent here, that we don't have full enjoyment of the property. We can't go and penetrate or make any changes to the asphalt cap that's on the hazardous waste.
Sure, we can't violate that agreement. That's what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I'll take a look at the agreement, make sure that we don't.
Fine.
Thanks.
But why not just go back to the same well that the borough has used before? In other words,
Okay,
why?
hang on a minute, Gene. I got pulled into this conversation about wording of the resolution, okay? So I wasn't involved, directly into what this project entails, so maybe I beg off at this point.
Okay, fine. And if you want, I may actually have some of the historical data that goes back to the agreements that the borough has signed with Jersey Central Power and Light regarding this project.
You know, I've read them as well. I can't say that I'm familiar with them as I sit here, but I did read them maybe 6 months ago. So, you know, I've been there too.
Okay. Thank you. No further comment.
Anyone else would like to make a comment? Please step up to the mic.
All right, can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so before we get into the resolutions, prior to this meeting, we had the public hearing for the open space grant application for resolution 2023-172. The project, since the agenda was published on our website, the project has been amended to include the addition of pickleball courts, which changed the dollar amounts listed in the resolution. So the requested grant amount is now $246,611.75 due to the total cost of the project being $493,223.50. So if we could have a motion to amend that resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Mayor Lagapesca?
Yes.
Councilman Rondanero?
Yes.
And Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Okay, now can I have a motion to approve the resolutions as listed on the consent agenda?
Second.
Councilwoman Donovan?
Yes.
Mayor Lagapesca?
Yes.
Councilman Rondanero?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Alright, next is ordinances. We have first reading and introduction of ordinance 2023-11. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 4, establishing rules regulating third-party payroll disbursement. Do we have a motion to offer for first reading and introduction?
Make the motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Donovan?
Yes.
Mayor Lagapesca?
Yes.
Councilman Rondanero?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Next is ordinance 2023-12, an ordinance amending Chapter 26 to revise the property maintenance code. We have a motion to offer for first reading and an introduction.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Mayor Lagapesca?
Yes.
Councilman Rondanero?
Yes.
Councilman Levin?
Yes.
And last one is ordinance 2023-13. It's an ordinance amending Chapter 19 traffic to designate certain intersections as multi-way stop intersections. Do we have a motion to offer for first reading and introduction?
A motion.
Second.
Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Mayor Lagapesca?
Yes.
Councilman Rondanero?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
So now we're on to public session. If anyone from the public would like to speak, please remember to state your name and address before speaking. Thank you.
This is on any subject, ma'am?
Yes.
Can you help me with this? I don't want to break anything. Joe McAvoy, 700 Main Street. This is going to be uncomfortable, but it won't be as uncomfortable as the last 3 council meetings. First, I want to just say, I want to address the Belmar Environmental Commission first. They started out the meeting 2 meetings ago with a really weak presentation. We did a lot of research for them. And we told them that Harvard completed a study just a few years ago that linked air pollution to autism. When I apologized to Councilman Brennan for not doing my due diligence, I did it. And I told him he could drive a Toyota Camry coast to coast and emit less particulates than if he ran a backpack blower for an hour. But with the far left, there's never any compromise. You had somebody actually say the words, "This is how they're doing it in California." California's a failed state. That was a bad way to start off that meeting. Now, I'm not a Trump fan, but he got indicted that week. Then you start off the meeting that way. Then the pride flag goes up. We're going to talk about that too. And all these things, and they just wanted to come in and scorch a Democrat. And I understand, Mayor, where they were coming from. And, you know, a lot of them were out of line, but you didn't handle yourself so good either. For the far lefties on the Belmar Environmental Commission, who compiled that weak brief, I'd like to say, please don't ever use the phrase, "This is what they're doing in California," to try to sway Belmartians' opinions. California's a failure on so many levels, and now their ridiculously hypocritical governor wants to run
to lead our nation with his mass formation zombies backing it. California's green energy agenda leadership is going full speed down a dead-end road, and it has been an absolute environmental disaster for that state and the nation, and in many parts of the world. It was never designed to be a transition. If somebody just came up with a particulate filter for the backpack blowers and a muffler to muffle them down, another 20 decibels to meet the electric blowers, there's a compromise. But nobody ever wants to compromise. So he's 10% on the far left and 10% on the far right. And the 80% of us accordion in the middle are getting sick of it. And Belmar's a microcosm of what's going on in the nation. It was designed to be a cash grab by the global elites to further their agenda of control and conquest through the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab, there's a name you should Google, Mayor. Look him up. He's a psychotic. He created and he runs the World Economic Forum, and he controls our government. They're all complicit, they're all compromised, and many are corrupt, including California's Governor Gavin Newsom, as well as ours. And they were both guests of the global elites at last month's G7 summit. Actually, it was 2 months ago, I apologize. It's July now. It was May 18th and 19th. Stop worshiping the false prophets in the world and the false prophets in Belmar. Listen to the 80% of the residents on the in-between, and not the egocentric, misogynistic, control freak alpha males on the far right and the far left, 10% in town, who control the narrative from their private clubs and homes on Inlet Terrace and Ocean Avenue, where they host fundraisers for Senator Booker, where they rarely keep up with the goings-on in local politics until it's a not-in-my-backyard issue, like we have with the Porta-Johns now and the proposed Verizon beachfront towers. They all come running in with limited information. I still have people that ask me, why can't we put the towers on Main Street? I still get asked those questions, and it's a shame that people are uninformed, but you know, I'm patient with them. I'm patient with them. I use them as an asset, and when they, you know, even if they disagree with me, I don't blast them like you did in Mr. Lonergan. And Mr. Lonergan was an asset. You know, any intelligence operative would have told you. That guy battled Verizon. Now granted, he moved his tower from the wealthy part of Chatham, where you're from, to the rich part of Chatham. It wasn't really a victory, but you know what? He went up against him, and he came in here, and he offered his help, and he's a good guy. And he let me out in wall-to-wall traffic on Main Street one day. And he's not a bad guy, just because he's on the other side of the aisle from him there. That was an asset you could have right then and there. Give me your number, I'll give you a call, we'll sit down and we'll talk. But you told him to sit down. Belmar is a microcosm of what goes on nationally. If you think my opinion of how you handle things is tough, let me tell you, most of the folks I've spoken to, residents and business owners, and they're going to speak tonight. It's good I'm going first because I'm saving you a lot of heartache, trust me. Republicans, Democrats, and independents like myself now, they think you're crooked. I know you're not. I know you're a good man, you're an intelligent man. But I also know you're not humble and apologetic over bringing this type of divisiveness to this town. And you did a great job the first 100 days. The town's clean. You're all doing a great job. You're all good people. And I know you're trying hard. But this sense of entitlement, we're okay. We've worked so hard, now let's just throw our paisans a bone, or throw our charity a bone, or throw our favorite, you know, left wing, whatever it is. You know, we're entitled now. And you got away from the meat and potatoes. And maybe the first 2 years, you could have focused on those things and then done other things. When we have parents from out of town that know nothing about the history of what Matt Doherty put us through, wanting to shout down residents like Claire Hayner, I have an issue with that. When Mr. Kramer's trying to talk to the attorney, because that's the only night he's going to be here, that attorney for Verizon, and the parents are hemming and hawing, when's it our turn? And this man saved us so much heartache over the years with lawyers and with dealing with crap. And for the parents to sit there, and I feel for those parents. I have an issue with that. All of a sudden, if we question fiscal responsibility on the part of this administration, we're against people in society with special needs. There's never any middle ground. Never any middle ground. The BLM movement started out as a good movement. It was based in truth. And then we found out 3 Marxists were in charge of it. They used that nonprofit to enrich themselves. And the message got lost, and now it's gone. Now, the middle ground on that would have been simple. Why are we teaching a whole nother generation of African Americans that the flag doesn't stand for them when King, and I went to Martin Luther King Elementary School, I'm speaking from my heart. I was the only white kid on the basketball court after school. I was never a victim of racism until I got in the Marine Corps. And there were African American gunnery sergeants discriminating against white Marines. And I blew the whistle on that. You know how I did it? I went to my dark green first sergeant, and I said, First Sergeant, we got to sit down. There's something I need to tell you. He said, Mac, what's on your mind? I said, listen, I know you're an African American. I said, but I know we don't see color in the Marine Corps, but we got a problem over at the Training and Audio-Visual Support Center. And that gunnery sergeant went to Alaska. 2 weeks later, the sergeant wasn't able to re-enlist, and the corporal got kicked out of the Marine Corps. And he took care of the problem. And I had black role models growing up, coaches, parents. I've been through it. There's never any middle ground. King marched on Selma with the flag. They all had flags. If you believe Michelle Obama that the blacks built the White House, then you should believe that the flag stands for them as well. That message was lost. Councilman Levis is swearing in. The right-wingers were saying, why doesn't he need a Bible? He didn't know the Bible was right behind him. He swore into the U.S. military he didn't need a Bible. I swore in 4 times. I got 4 DD-214s. Not once did I have to put my hand in a Bible or a Quran or anything, because they don't offer it to you. When you make a pledge to support and defend the Constitution. And when Marines make that pledge, it's for a lifetime. The Army and the Navy are branches of the service. The Coast Guard's a boat club, all right? They're a very necessary boat club, but they're a boat club. The Air Force is a corporation. The Marine Corps is a cult. And I'm not going to stand here and listen to this crap anymore with the right and left and the rich and the homeless on the plaza. State Senator Vingo Powell said at your swearing in, you're going to make mistakes. Hopefully you'll have the chance to correct them before they mushroom. That's exactly what he said when he swore you in. And the Republicans were tearing you apart. Jim McCracken asked the question, why does Ryan D'Elia have 3 different fire titles? And you're familiar with fire. You were a firefighter for a lot of years, weren't you, sir? He had 3 different titles. He was maybe a fire inspector, commissioner, and they were warranted titles. And April had to remind him, well, he held those 3 titles for the 4 years you were on the council, Jim. You know? I mean, it's... You had a chance to correct the mistake. 2 weeks later, when the lifeguards came in, and they had a charity, a legitimate charity, and they asked for the keys to the boat ramp, right? A free pass to the boat ramp. Councilman Levis told them. Sounds like a great idea, sounds like a great charity, but we'll have to talk it over with the business administrator and the borough attorney, and we'll get back to you. That should have been the same speech you gave Matt Doherty 2 weeks prior. That should have been the protocol. Now, maybe you screwed up, maybe you owed something to somebody, I don't know, but I'm going to find out eventually. But I can tell you, he gave away that marina, 35-year lease on all the food concessions in that marina for 35 years. You can't even have a veteran with a hot dog cart selling bagels at 6 a.m. when those restaurants aren't open. You can't have a seafood fest with shuttles to McCleary Park. That's gone. You should look into that and see if you can find a clause in that like you found a clause in Verizon. And I commend you for that, Mayor. I know you were the one, and you don't talk yourself up enough in the beginning. You found the mistake in the contract, correct? Okay,
Any comments?
okay, no comments. He found a mistake in the contract, and I'm sure you looked it over too, George, but you're a lawyer, and you found it, and that was a great thing you did for the town. I'm not here, you know, that was a good thing you did, but either that deal was decided ahead of time, or it was a mistake that you could have corrected with a simple apology to the residents and a no vote. And I've lost friends over supporting you. I lost friends over supporting the three of you. And it doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't matter, because it's God, country, corps. Friends and family are way down the line. All right? They come and go. A lot of them are dead. A lot of the veterans I speak for, and Councilman Kraken said, why don't you bring them in here? Because they're afraid. And I told them that. Their kids work in town. Their families own business in town. They're afraid. Some of them have 3, 6, and 9 combat tours. And those double doors back there, only one of them opens. Most of them couldn't get their balls in this room to address you. And that's why I come up here. And I try to be humble, and I try to state the facts. This town needs to heal. This town needs to get away from the bipartisan chasm that's killing this nation, that's killing this town. Don't worry about Trump and Biden. Just get the meat and potatoes done. Dan Healy was a good lifeguard. Amazing. National champion rower. It's a shame you couldn't give him something for nothing. I hope he did. Dan Healy had the class to sit back there until the public session was open, was closed until he got up and left with his lifeguards. Matt Doherty sat there with his entourage, and as soon as you gave him what he wanted for free, he got up and left. And an hour and 15 minutes later, after the council meeting, he was drinking beers in Anchor Tavern, getting his free tab from Bob Cooper of Chefs International, who grew up 2 blocks with him in Edison. You want me to talk about Tiller Pavilion? We're going to get there. Chefs International.
Joe, you're gonna have to.
Is there a filibuster rule?
No, we have time, because they're all going to come up behind me. And if I get it done, you won't have to listen to
That's
it.
the thing, Joe, so.
No. When I come in here, I come to talk to the wizard, not the little man behind the curtain.
Everybody has to have a chance, see, like that kind of stuff, you know, you really have to calm down and stay away from.
Oh, I'm calm. This is the calmest you're going to see
I don't
me.
really see that, but.
Yeah, well, I don't see it with you either. I don't see the professionalism. Judgment, justice, decisiveness, integrity, dedication, tact, initiative, endurance, bearing unselfishness, courage, knowledge, loyalty, and enthusiasm. What are they? Those are the 14 leadership traits. Honor's not on them, because honor's a lifetime of doing the right thing. Now sit there and do the right thing and listen, because I'll come back in 2 weeks and we'll do it all over again. Then I'll come back in the next 2 weeks. Thank you.
I just want to say, my grandfather served in the Coast Guard in World War II. They're not a fucking boat club, sir.
Okay,
I didn't say it was.
We have one conversation at a time.
Not very necessary boat club.
Yeah, we're losing them.
Joe,
Right
you started speaking at 7:11. I'm going to give you to
Oh,
7:31.
Mayor.
That's 20 minutes. We have many people who want to speak. If you want to come up after
Can I
everyone
come
else
up
has
after?
spoken,
Can I
that'd
come
be
up
great.
after and address Councilwoman Rhonda Nord?
You can come up.
I'll sit down now and I'll come up after.
We need to let other people
I'll let
speak
the
at this
torches
point.
and pitchforks come up here next.
Thank you.
Oh, we offended a snowflake in the Coast Guard. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
All right, so
Martha Masalco, 102 North Boulevard.
can we just keep our comments civil? Everybody has the right to participate and speak. And we have a 5-minute ordinance. We haven't been enforcing it, but we have the right to. But just let's keep our comments civil and not abusive and respectful. So we don't have any incidents and we all can move along and we all can listen to each other. And that's what the public session's about, and that's what we should do.
That's not what happened 6 weeks ago.
We shouldn't have such rancor.
Yeah, thank you. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. I stand before you tonight representing a group
of concerned citizens who deeply care about our community, and some of them are here with me today. And we would like to bring to your attention two matters of significance: the completion of the walkway and the installation of a fountain, both on the Belmar side of Lake Como. We kindly request the town's support in fulfilling the promised completion of these two tasks. To begin with, we'd like to express our appreciation for receiving the $200,000 Monmouth County Open Grant. We believe it is important that the deadline for completion be met so the matching grant can be utilized. Last year, we faced a challenge with the proliferation of algae in the lake. Fountains played a role in maintaining clean and fresh water by adding oxygen and reducing surface vegetation. Additionally, fountains contribute to the aesthetic appeal of the area, enhancing its beauty and ambiance. We are pleased to note that the necessary electrical work for installing the fountain has already been completed. With only the Belmar section of the walkway remaining unfinished, it is essential that our town take the initiative to complete this project. The walkway around the lake, implemented by Spring Lake and Lake Como, has been a great success, attracting numerous residents who enjoy its amenities. We believe it is important to fulfill our commitment to complete the project. In the past, priorities related to the south side of town have not always received attention. We hope that this will not be the case with these projects. In conclusion, we ask for your support in fulfilling these promises. Thank you for your attention and consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Kane has a comment to make.
Yeah, just an update on that Lake Como path with the open space grant. I spoke to the engineer, Jerry Frieda from Avakian, this afternoon. There was some question about the order of the way this works, this grant works. And so I have this where I said I'd have this last meeting. They're waiting, Avakian, we're waiting to receive the grant agreement from the county for signature and submission. Avakian is then going to design the project, prepare the bid specs. They're going to bid the project, receive the bids, do a bond ordinance for the cost of the project, award the contract, do the work, and then we submit the paperwork to the county for reimbursement via the grant. So what's happening right now, where we're at right now, is we're waiting to receive the agreement from Monmouth County. We've been awarded, waiting for the paperwork to sign. That paperwork starts the process. So, and I also talked to him, and Billy mentioned last meeting about that fountain. I spoke to Jerry about that. The grant itself is for the walkway, but we're going to, when we do the scope of work, we're going to talk about the fountain also. So we're just waiting. They're ready to go. They have everything ready to go. We're waiting on this paperwork. So, like I said, I just talked to them right before the meeting started, so we're going to try to make a call to the county to see where they're at. The way it works is they receive money from the federal government, it goes to the state and to the counties, so we don't know if there's a hiccup in there somewhere, but we're going to try to call the county and see where we're at. But it's ready to go. The project's ready to go.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Can we start the clock on 5 minutes?
There are other people who want to speak behind you.
Mayor, you told me I could come back up.
It's,
Are you lying to me?
I said at the end of the meeting,
Please.
please.
On the end, you let me finish.
You could stay all night if you want. I'll be here. Hi.
Hi, Jane Kreca, River Avenue, Belmar. I'd like to ask first, I assume that you're aware of the rash of burglaries that have been occurring, specifically around the Inlet Terrace area, 4 of which within the last 6 months. The last one most recently 2 weeks ago. And these burglaries are nothing to sneeze at. They're serious burglaries where the houses were broken into. In each case, there was a safe that they brought equipment in. They took the doors off the safes. They took jewelry, money, silverware. It was really very, very disturbing. And so as a concerned citizen that lives literally next door and behind two of the homes that were burglarized, you could well imagine that I'm now more nervous living in Belmar than I was when I lived in New York City for 30 years. So my question is, one, what is being done to address this issue? And two, why haven't the residents, at least around Inlet Terrace, been made more aware of what's happening? Because this is not just a question of lock your doors at night, because they've come into the garage, bathroom windows, basements, and it's really very scary.
I think we need to speak with the chief. I think it would be helpful, perhaps, if the residents met with someone from the police who could basically give them some insight as to how they could, protect their properties and what efforts they can make to, to keep things in such a way that you're not enhancing your area for burglars to get in.
Were you aware of these? Were you aware of these?
Personally, I was not aware.
You're not aware,
Personally,
okay.
no, I was not aware.
Shouldn't we all be made aware, though? Should at least the Inlet Terrace area be made aware that these things are happening? Because I know that there's a little bit of a lackadaisical approach. Oh, it's Belmar, I don't have to lock it.
I don't know anything much about police strategy and police, but I wouldn't want to presume that we would always tell the public when things are happening, because they may be under investigation. And, if the police start discussing things in the public, it may hinder whatever investigation they have going on. So I wouldn't say that it obviously is good to know, and obviously if neighbors know that they have been, robbed, obviously that message could go out through the neighborhood.
Yeah, sure, I would think, yeah.
Via the neighbors. But, I think if the police feel that it's something that everyone needs to know about, then they will definitely make it known to the public. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, I was going to say we'll follow up with the police department, and we'll establish a meeting with the residents over there.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I would love to know if you're any closer to finding out who did it, because it seems to be the same people, because it's a pattern, right? So if there's 4 and they've all been, burglarized exactly in the same way, with, the same equipment that they bring in to cut the safes open, clearly it's, a group of people that are doing it over and over again.
Yeah, right.
So,
We'll find out, and we'll establish that meeting for you.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm wondering too if we could possibly consider, and after talking to the chief, maybe put a nixle out when there are robberies, as I was unaware of that as well, Mrs. Greco.
Good evening. My name is Bernie List. I live at 1103 East Street between 11th and 12th Avenue. This might be related to ordinance 2023-13 regarding the directions of the streets. The weekend of the July 4th weekend, I was walking my dog, crossing in the crosswalk between 11th Avenue and East Street. A vehicle was traveling the wrong way on East Street, blew through the intersection, and my dog and myself had to pull my dog and myself and get onto the curb. And at the same time, another vehicle was traveling at a high rate of speed. So this is what I have. Cars parked on the right side of 11th are causing visual obstruction to vehicles at the stop sign on East Street. Good drivers need to inch out onto 11th to see if cars are coming, both northbound and southbound. Sometimes close calls occur even when the driver on East Street inches out, since drivers on 11th are going above the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Cars traveling northbound from the stop sign at 11th and D Street are exceeding the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit when they reach East Street. This also applies to vehicles coming off Main Street and traveling southbound on East Street. I have proposed a couple of solutions which can be discussed. I know there's possibly putting a permanent stop sign on 11th, both northbound and southbound. I know there's probably some issues with investigation and so on and so forth. Possibly putting up a 3-way stop sign during seasonal times, which is similar to what the ordinance is. This was done on the higher numbered avenues during previous summer sessions. or possibly paint the word slow or slow 25 miles an hour on both sides of 11th near East Street. This was done on 12th Street when it was resurfaced. I can speak, there's issues, I sit on my porch, kids and adults are riding their bikes, not slowing down. I've seen numerous close calls, I've seen cars swerve, go to the curb. There's homes on the side. I just think it's an issue that 11th Ave, there's a lot of stop signs on like 8th, 9th, 10th, 9th and 10th. I think there should be consideration as far as putting something on East Street and 11th to basically maybe save some lives in the future. So that's my comment for tonight.
We've had similar issues in other areas, and we'll meet with the chief, and we'll take a walk, and we'll look at the whole situation and come up with a plan.
Okay, very good.
Okay? Thanks.
Jim DiOrio, 217 8th Avenue. I know the Environmental Commission spent a lot of time on the gas-powered leaf blowers, but I feel there are a number of ordinances in town relating to the environment and noise that are not enforced. 8th Avenue is one of the main thoroughfares from Route 35 to the beach. Cars, trucks, motorcycles, and the other night, 20 trikes, the three-wheeled motorcycles, came down, blowing through stop signs, playing music, and I don't know if anyone enforces the existing noise ordinance. When I first came down to Belmar 50 years ago, I used to see the sign on 16th Avenue just before Route 71 that said, "Welcome to Belmar. We don't tolerate loud music, loud mufflers, $500 fine." I just wonder how many $500 fines have been given out. This noise goes from 6:30 in the morning. There's somebody riding a motorcycle, revving his engine every morning at 6:30. I don't need an alarm clock anymore. And it goes on till midnight, okay? And that's just one thing that I think we can do a better job of enforcing.
Stop you there.
Yeah.
You have a person who, and I would like to know the address, if you could tell us offline, who runs their motorcycle from the morning till night? Is that what you just said?
No, I'm saying the noise goes from 6:30.
I thought it was from that one individual.
Well, that one individual,
So I was gonna
6:30 in the morning, if you want to be on 8th
I
Avenue.
was going to
You'll
say, just
hear
let
it.
me know who it is, and we'll address that situation.
Yeah, the other ordinance that's not being enforced, contractors supposed to use power tools 8 in the morning till 6 at night. We have to call constantly if you're near a job site. The contractors ignore it till we call the police. From what I'm told, there's no 3 strikes, you're out for contractors as far as noise goes. We do it for Animal House. Maybe that needs to be modified so that if a contractor gets 3 complaints, 7:30 in the morning, that doesn't work, all right? And last, we talk about the environment. A lot of construction in town, a lot of old houses taken down. Those old houses contain asbestos, lead paint, right? We have ordinances on demolition of homes. They're supposed to be sprayed down, the material is supposed to be handled a certain way. I can tell you, it has not been done. I've complained in person to the town, all right? I have a copy of the ordinance on demolition of buildings, and the house next to me, stuff blew all over my property, and nothing was done. When code enforcement came out, after everything was demolished, the feedback I finally got was, everything's okay. But that's not what the ordinance says. So I think if we care about the environment, we care about noise, let's enforce what we have on the books before we put another ordinance on that will probably not be enforced because the ones aren't enforced. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I'm just going to address it to Mr. McGill, though. That ordinance we do need to look at because there was I remember looking at that, and there's definitely rules in terms of the demolition of property, but I think that the real problem comes in when there's a partial, it's not really a demolition, but a partial takedown, and it's unclear whether those provisions that apply to the demolition also apply to the partial. So I think, we'll take a look at that and see if maybe we can tweak that so that it becomes clear that, even if you're just taking down a wall or two walls, we still have the same issues in terms of dust and dirt and debris. So we'll take a look at that. Okay, next.
Hi, Mayor and Council.
We need to have your name, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm Colleen Sullivan Palis, and I live on Inlet Terrace. And I'm speaking in behalf of the recently controversial Environmental Commission. So I would like to bring your attention to the potential environmental impacts of the construction and operation of 5G towers in Belmar. We strongly recommend that an environmental impact study be completed before this project moves forward. I would like to reference my letter to the editor that was published on May 25th in the Co-Star. In this letter, I referenced 3 endangered species of birds that are known to nest in Belmar and are protected by both the federal government and the state of New Jersey. Sea beach amaranth is also an endangered species protected by federal and state laws. This coastal plant plays a vital role in stabilizing shoreline areas, acting as a natural buffer against erosion and storm surges. Along our boardwalk, you will find what might seem like random fencing. This fencing is there so sea beach amaranth and the birds, these endangered species, have an opportunity to nest there or grow there. It is the Environmental Commission's grave concern that any construction and operation of 5G towers would cause harm to these endangered species and lead to the loss of important ecosystems and biodiversity. Furthermore, we ask that the borough refuse to allow any lighting to be considered for any additional structures on the beachfront. The negative effects of light pollution on migrating birds, nocturnal wildlife, and quality of life are well documented. In summary, the Environmental Commission is concerned about negative environmental impacts from this project, and we feel it is our responsibility to do our due diligence and ask for the borough to hire an environmental consulting firm to investigate this thoroughly. May I ask if anyone has any questions as it pertains to this?
Can you do the same thing on all?
I just wanted to thank you for letting me know in advance that you were going to speak on this issue, because I do recall, and I can give you a copy of this, the Verizon people back in April of 2021 did file a document with the Department of Environmental Protection outlining the 20 sites where they were going to put the poles, and and basically they were saying or asking, what permits do we need in order to do this? And I have a copy for you. So, but in one of the, they don't need a waterfront development permit. They don't need a coastal wetlands permit, but they do need a CAFR permit. And as far as I know, they haven't gotten that yet, because they just asked us not too many months ago to fill out an owner's form. And not knowing much about the CAFR permit process, I just took a quick look, and not to go through the whole thing, but as part of the CAFR review process, the person who's asking to have work done has to do an environmental impact statement, and that statement gets reviewed by the commissioner of the DEP, and it says here, they have to. I'm just going to read one part here. It says, they need to provide, pursuant to standards established by rule or regulation adopted pursuant to the Administrative Procedure Act, on-site public access to the waterfront and adjacent shoreline, or off-site public access to the waterfront and adjacent shoreline. if on-site is not feasible, is determined by the department. It says nothing, shall affect any public access. But up further, it says basically that you cannot cause any interference with the natural functioning of plants, animal, fish, and human life processes at the site and the surrounding region. So I think, in terms of the environmental issue, I think that will be dealt with by the DEP in terms of them getting a CAFRA permit, which they need for each of those poles that they're going to put in. I have no other information on where that's at, but I think that type of analysis is going to be done by the Department of Environmental Protection. And I don't think we're in a position to run our own environmental process. The state is going to do that as part of their permitting process. So, I mean,
we do have some recommendations on some local firms that we can at least talk to find and get perhaps a quote to see what this would look like. Because it is our opinion that as the coastal community living here, it is our responsibility to be good stewards of the environment. And
I think though we would run into conflict where, hypothetically, if the people at CAFRA and the DEP say there is no reason to stop the poles going up, and we have somebody who does, then the issue becomes what happens next. And I'm assuming that they have years and years of experience in dealing with the coastal environmental situation all along New Jersey. So what I'm saying is I would rather wait and see what DEP says in terms of the CAFRA permit, and then make a decision after that, because they may essentially be doing the work for us.
so, for example,
Go ahead.
If I could, I had this conversation with Peter Lupo. I brought this up because I think Councilwoman Donovan brought it up a couple weeks ago. And I'll have that conversation with him again, specifically as to getting our own study. They do need a CAFRA permit, and that's a process that they'll go through. The question is, can we add on top of that? I think his position was at that time, no. We didn't exchange any specifics or anything of that nature. His ordinance, it was at the time when he was preparing his ordinance, and it wasn't in his ordinance. And I asked him why, and he said because that ordinance was to not be defective. That's why he wrote it. So he said if you add more things other than what's permitted federally, then you run afoul of having to enforce things that ultimately aren't enforceable. So that's not directly answering your question.
It is kind of. So my question right now is, and I'm not going to take everybody's time here belaboring this, but is it possible that we could talk more about this later?
Yeah, that's where I was getting to, because I don't have a great answer on that. That's my understanding, but I will talk to Peter again, and I can loop you in if you'd like to, and
Thank you.
You can get in touch with me or Kevin, and he'll get in touch with me. And
thank you. I'm meeting with the Historical Society on Thursday, and we're going to go over this, and I'm going to be providing this information to Kayla Lauer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And Mayor, I would be interested in also getting an opinion on the environmental consulting firm. It seems, from what I've heard, Verizon and the companies don't seem to care much about the human effect, but for some reason, birds are still on the table.
Okay, thank you.
Anita Farley, First Avenue. Back to the vote. I didn't know there were children involved, and I don't know if you can answer me this, but is social services involved? We have a man who had children who doesn't have enough money to pay for his boat, and his boat falls apart, and he may have sank it himself.
I think they're residents of Massachusetts, and I think they've gone back to Massachusetts, so they're not. That issue is not a New Jersey issue.
But should somebody be notified? Because maybe they weren't even his kids. It sounds like such a crazy story. Should we loop social services in somehow?
I don't
I mean,
know
I
that
know
that's
the police,
warranted.
that would be part of the police, but don't you think, who knows where, you know, what the real story is? If he, you know, might have sunk his boat, if the boat was a piece of not nice. I mean, you know, were they minor children?
I don't
Does
know.
anybody know?
I don't know.
Nobody knows?
I knew they were young children.
So there's young children out there that he has no money for, and he can't get a gas.
Well, he allegedly has no money for it.
His
You
boat
know,
fell apart.
But,
He
I
left.
mean, he's not here.
But somehow he got back to Massachusetts.
I'll worry about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
I thank you very much for following up on the south end of town with the grant, but I also think the fountain is very important. And I know it's not tied into the grant specifically, but it really should be looked at because we had to spend money cleaning up the algae of the lake last year. You're doing it with Silver Lake. So I don't want that to kind of just lay by the wayside. That, you know, I know the walkway is in the grant, but the fountain and the movement of that water is very, very important as far as controlling, you know, the algae of the lake. And you're doing that at Silver Lake. I think the same thing should be done at our portion of the lake on North Boulevard. And I think Spring Lake should be requested to put 2 fountains in to keep the movement. If we have that council that meets with Spring Lake, but they should pony up and put some fountains in on their end of the lake. Now, there's an issue you may not be aware of yet, but every year, some people come down, okay, and they go to the beach on 20th, between 20th and North Boulevard. Now, they come and they put 4 volleyball courts, massive volleyball courts. Now, I want to be understood that do we require permits to put in, it's almost like a permit, I mean, it's wood, and it takes up a large portion of the beach, which is not very, it's not very large. It's not like going down the 5th. So I just was wondering if permits, did you need permits?
Do those courts stay there?
No, they don't stay there. They come, they bring them for the weekend. It's a group that comes every year. And this year, we've gone from, the last administration shut them down. After the first night, they put them up. But this year, they were up for the whole entire weekend. And there's just not enough room, and it's really uncomfortable. It's a family's ties, you know, it's a family area beach. You all know it. I don't have to tell you about it. But I think that should be looked into because it sets a bad precedence. If they can do it, if one group can do it, then you're going to have a problem. So I just would like you to be a little proactive on that.
Could you just state your name and address, too?
Oh, I'm sorry, Rich Seidel, 2010 Surf Avenue, and we're part of that large contingent over here. Okay, thank you so much.
We need to look at the ordinance on that and see if it would be considered a permanent structure, right? Yeah, because we don't want those things staying.
I actually saw someone bring in a temporary basketball court on 4th of July, which I don't know how you dribble. But, you know.
Good evening. Tony Almeida, 419 10th Ave. Just want to say, thankless job, and we appreciate all you do, regardless of the indifferences that sometimes occur. The reason I come up here this evening is because I'm highly concerned with, and I recognize the Department of Public Works is extremely busy, but the crosswalk situation specifically on our main thoroughfares, 8th Avenue, 10th Avenue, 16th Avenue. The crosswalks need to be addressed immediately and repainted. In a half hour on last Friday evening, there were 39 vehicles at the intersection of 10th and D that did not come to a complete stop at a stop sign. There were 3 vehicles that went straight through at 25 miles an hour. Part of that might be, there might be some sight visual impacts from not seeing a stop sign, but the main thoroughfares in the community should have 25-mile-an-hour signs on every single block. All the crosswalks on the main thoroughfares should be addressed and painted every year. And I agree, sometimes it will help me. Anything that we can do.
We'll look at that because it seems like we've had problems in different areas of town.
Yeah, I recognize
We can look
that.
at the signage and see if we need to get maybe some additional signage.
I think
there.
if they can't, Jared, I think that the crosswalks, you know, if you can't see the stop sign, you can see the crosswalk from a further distance, and at least then it'll be more caution.
Right.
You know,
Okay, I think
appreciate you
that
guys on
works.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hi, Randy Brazil, 11th Avenue. I concur that the stop sign on 11th and B, you can just watch people just drive right through that stop sign. It's really mostly in the summertime, obviously, but whatever. So my first question is actually for Linda Shorkus, who can't be here tonight. 2 council meetings ago, she had asked about the seafood festivals, the results of the seafood festival. You said give you 2 meetings. This is the second meeting. Can we know what happened with the seafood festival?
Sure. I have an approximation. I can't give you the exact number, but I think after everything was all said and done, we made something in the order of between $55,000 and $60,000.
That's really great.
For the seafood
It
festival.
was a nice weekend. It was.
Yes.
Kudos to John. He did a great
Yep.
job. It was really great. Fireworks were amazing, really amazing. We lucked out on weather and it was super great. And the Friday night concert series, we hardly ever get down there on Friday nights, but it was really nice. And I saw you there. I tried to get to you, but I couldn't say hi. Waiting for a phone call back. You know.
We just said it was late this afternoon. I was talking to April.
Microphone.
You got it? Talking to the mic.
It was late this afternoon, I was talking to April, we sent our construction officials back out.
Okay, I would just like, you can just call me, I don't need to go through this. I would just like a phone call, that's all I'm asking. Communication seems to be the main issue that I'm having. We all are busy, I get it. I had to take the time to go to town council, to the borough hall, because from March 30th, I've not received a return phone call, other than 1 return phone call with no update whatsoever. So all I'm asking for is communication. It takes the sting out of a lot, it just does. So I appreciate that. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Sit down.
I didn't say that. Okay. Sharon Mahoney, 800 Main Street. I'm going to follow up to Jim DiOrio's comments regarding the noise. So I'm one of the people who does call in the morning super early. I mean, 7 o'clock in the morning, you're trying to enjoy a cup of coffee or something on your porch and you have construction starting. And that's not just commercial, it also happens with neighbors too. So my one question is, when people file for permits for construction, do they get also a piece of paper that says, here's the town ordinance, here's when you can and can't do construction, here's when you can't you do the power tools? Who can answer that for me?
No, they do not get that, but sometimes people do ask, and it is 7 a.m. is the start time.
But for power tools, it's 8 o'clock. For power. For any constructions like, you know, light stuff, yes, but power tools, consistent stuff, it's 8 o'clock. But why are they not getting this communication? Because the problem with the 9th Avenue and Main Street construction, constantly I was going over there because you might have one GC, but then you have new guys. Every single time they do something different. They're like, we didn't know, we didn't know, we didn't know. I talked to Brett, who lives next door, the other day because I went over there last week. They were working on, like, I don't know if they were soldering the dumpster or what they were doing, and it was, you know, between 7 and 7:30, and, you know, a lot of those workers also don't speak very good English. They didn't know what I was asking for, so I had to get somebody else to come over to say, before I call the police again, please, 8 o'clock, that's the ordinance. They're not being communicated, or this information is not being communicated, and I want to know why, because the police are not proactive in all of this. They're only reactive when somebody calls and complains. I've seen them drive by these sites and not stop when somebody's power washing at 6 o'clock in the morning. So can we do something better to have this stuff where I don't have to call, where the police department actually, you know, they're driving down Main Street all the time, and you can hear it if you have the window open. You can, Bangor Tavern, they haven't done it in 2 weeks now, thank God. Last time I said, are there fines? Do they get fined for noise and ordinance, a violation? Because residents do, right? But there's nothing for businesses and construction. That needs to change. Because if somebody's fined, then they might not do it again, or might not do it a second or a third time. Is there a fine the first time there's a noise ordinance in town in an animal house?
I don't know, I'm not familiar with that.
The animal house is only for summer rentals. The
Okay.
noise ordinance is its own separate thing.
But there are fines the first time for a noise ordinance, or no?
I believe there are a couple
Okay,
different
so-
sign options.
That should be in place for construction as well. Construction, any type of power tools. The power washing is the worst. I don't know how DJs gets away with doing it at 6 o'clock in the morning and why nobody's complained so much about that one. But when I bike, the sun's coming up, it's 5:30, that guy's out there. Like, I don't understand why nobody who lives around there is not complaining about that. But it's 8 o'clock for that kind of stuff. So I'd like to see a more proactive approach from the town. And anybody who's listening to me say this, please call and complain if you hear it. Because, you know, the ordinances are in place for a reason, right? If you didn't want them to be enforced, then why are they on the books? So, I mean, anybody have any questions for me?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Tom Walker, 527 8th Avenue, Belmar. I'd like to put in a word for our surf camp in Belmar. I think it's a fantastic service to our town and community. I've watched them a little bit when I had the chance, and they more than just teach surfing, they teach a respect for the ocean. And it's unfortunate that a lot of our visitors don't know how to swim. And it's the ones that do know how to swim do not know how to respect the ocean. So if you haven't watched what this camp does, I'd appreciate it if you'd take a chance to go over there and talk to Sean. I think you'd be very proud of the operation. Thank you.
And that's summertime surf, right, Mr. Butler? Summertime surf?
Yes, thank you.
I can attest to that, Tom. My daughter got wave of the week last week. They do a good operation.
Oh, how you doing, Mark? Yeah. I'm glad it's on your boat, by the way.
Me too.
Did you have a question, or?
No, I was just commenting that it is a good organization.
Thank you.
It's great to have on the beachfront. I said my daughter did it last week, and she's hooked.
So you know what's involved in the teaching, and it saves lives. It's got to be effective. Thank you.
Hi, Kathy Snyder, 2000 Ocean Ave. I just would like to piggyback on the comments about the stop sign and the visibility and whatnot. Living on 20th and Ocean, I mentioned it last time I was here to the chief. It's really tough to get out onto Ocean, and I see people coming up my one way the wrong way. We've only been here, like I said, a year and a half, but as I travel through town, there's certain intersections. I'm creeping because I know I live here and I know what to expect. So when you say you're going to meet, and I know you met with the elementary school child and the people that mentioned it, I'd like to ask that you look at the entire town and we talk about perhaps restriping the sidewalks, the curbs, and making Belmar a safer place for the residents and our visitors. Thank you.
Just so you're aware, we talked about this a while ago, we would like to do an entire town traffic study for a number of reasons, but one of those would be to, again, look at stop signs, speed signs, things like that, and I'm hoping that we will be able to do it, this year. So we have that in mind too.
You should get residents involved in that too, not just board. Residents, get some residents involved in that too. We have knowledge.
If you want to speak, please come up to the mic. Record what you're saying.
Hi, Sarah Tantillo, 505 13th Ave. The gentleman behind me was suggesting that you get residents involved in the task force, and I would volunteer to be on that task force too. I would second or third the motion to get people to stop at stop signs. I see a lot of speeding through stop signs on 13th. I just want to raise a question that people, I think we should think about. I don't know that I have a solution, but I feel that we're kind of sitting ducks with regard to the ocean, not having an ocean wall. And I know probably nobody wants to look at an ocean wall when you're on the boardwalk and it looks really nice, but the ocean is already 77 degrees and we're still early in hurricane season. I feel like we ought to be doing something to protect ourselves better than we have so far. So I just want to put it out there.
Just again, reminding people that we're stewards of the beach, but we have little control over it. So, you know, in terms of doing anything to stop the movement of sand even, that all gets controlled by the Department of Environmental Protection. So, you know, I don't know if you've read some of the stories back down in Wildwood. They're being sued for like millions of dollars because they put up a seawall, which the DEP didn't give them permission to do. So, I mean, it's definitely something that should be looked at, but it would have to be looked at through the Department of Environmental Protection, so that
Maybe we could ask them.
So that they'd have to sign off on it.
That's fine.
We do.
We could ask them.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Maria Florio, 115 12th Avenue. Don't talk about signs. They don't work. I have 5 right on the corner. I live on the corner of 12th and A. If you give me a job, I'll be glad to pull over anybody that goes into the stop sign. I will give them rolling stops one way. You know what our problem is? We have no walkies, no police at all. And I don't want to hear it's the police discretion whether they should give a ticket or not. It is the law. And when you see something wrong, don't go looking for the kid that's parked over the sideway, or the sidewalk, excuse me. Put a ticket there and go on to the next job. But we have no walkies, so we do not feel secured at all. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Dilberger, 1000 River Road. A few things here about the noise, the traffic, and everything. I have bad news. That ship has sailed. Through the new manner of living and everything that people indulge in, everything's a small suggestion. Stop. Well, maybe. Or maybe slow down. Or maybe get out halfway into the intersection and maybe stop there. Everything is up for question anymore. All anybody can do at the wheel of a car now is react to what you see. Driving is like a conversation. You're in a conversation with the other cars. He's signaling. Okay, he's good. That's good. He's signaling. However, then you run into the idea, is he going to do what that signal says? Which is another little bit here. As far as men working with power tools and everything, there's nothing much that can be done. You make all the phone calls known to mankind. There's very little, if anything, ever going to be done. You're dealing with an entire different situation anymore. All instincts and reflexes and everything is gone because of the new manner of living. These people seldom venturing out their door. This new thing of working at home, you get people that are in that house for a week and a half, 2 weeks. Somehow they get food and everything. Every so often they eat. I guess they eat. But this is a new concept that we've never seen before. All the other ideas of phone calls and all this, forget about it. That's over with. When the two cars crash, then the policeman will show up and will, maybe something will be done. Maria said a great thing. We don't have walking police. We don't have them on the beat and everything. But which would be another problem. You imagine telling a 20-something-year-old young officer, okay, we're going to put you on the beat. You're going to walk. You're not going to drive your car. You're going to walk your beat. You'd have to get a psychiatrist, a battery of psychiatrists to calm the kid down. This is the new concept of living. All your ordinances and all this mean very little anymore. Very little. I don't know what to say, but originally I wasn't going to say any damn thing tonight. But I do have something to say. Once again, Mr. Mayor, when you signaled the attorney to stop or interrupt Joe Megavoy, I think that was a bit out of order again. We have Robert's Rules of Order here. Maybe, like the signs I just mentioned, maybe that doesn't mean anything anymore. Also, Counselor, I think you were a bit out of order catching that pass and interrupting the man. Yes, he can speak again after everybody's done. We understand it, that's Robert's Rules of Order. But the thing is, you shouldn't have interrupted him. He probably was pretty much done. So this, calm yourselves. Like you said, Mr. Mayor, we got all night. We got all night. So you could have let the guy finish up and that would have been it. That's all I got.
Good evening. Angela Pfeiffer, Fifth Avenue, Belmar. On a lighter note, I want to thank you very much on behalf of the pickleball community for including the grant for additional courts. There's so many of us that are playing and enjoying it, and by playing pickleball, we're staying off the streets, so we're not passing stop signs, and we're getting good exercise, so that's a lot of fun. I'd also like to acknowledge Barry Trudeau, the rec director, has been absolutely amazing in helping us with stuff and getting some things done. Thank you so much. Any idea on the timeline with the new courts, like or this is like the very beginning stages, putting in?
I mean, this is the very beginning stages of it, so, it's not going to be a Christmas present.
No, we understand that. We understand that. The group's getting bigger and bigger, and it's bringing more people. It's been great, so I just want to thank everybody for that.
Felicia Rotella, 210 12th Ave. I was on the beach today till 6 o'clock, and what I see there is upsetting. I see people smoking weed, people come with a group of kids out there on their boogie boards by the inlet. I had to call one lady, a mother, and told her to bring her kid in. That kid was just drifting out. Where are the cops? I didn't see one cop all day. Where are they? During the week, you see them coming up and down, up and down. Now, at nighttime, you don't see any. So what's going on? I almost got ran over right here on Main Street. What's going on? Can you answer me?
I can't
Where are
answer
the
the
cops?
question because I'd have to talk to the chief. I don't know what the
I tried
duty
calling you. You can't
me.
get through. You can't get through. You get the runaround.
I
I
will
tried
talk-
calling Kane. And all you do is get a runaround.
I will speak with the chief and
But
we
what's
will.
going on the beach right now? It's a disgrace. It's not nice.
Is she still here? Is the building police, is she still here?
Is she here? I'd like to talk to
She
her.
has a meeting in Lake Como
Of
as
course,
well.
they always have meetings, always. But I would like to see more police officers on our beach, all beaches in Belmar. Because last year, I saw more supervision, more cops, more patrol. This year, I'm not seeing it. And it's upsetting. And they're smoking weed right now. Go on the beach right now. You can't even sit there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hurry up before somebody comes up.
Claire Hayner, 18th and B. I worked for UPS for 26 years, retired 10 years ago, and what they always pounded into our head was process improvement, process improvement, process improvement, okay? And they always said change was good. If you've been doing the same thing for 5 years, change it. I kind of agree with that. All right, one thing, I had sent you guys all an email. Angel had, Angel, that was my old boss. April had responded. At the last meeting, when Katrina couldn't find one article on, miscellaneous on the thing, And April said, no, it's in there, and, you know, I said, I couldn't even find it, okay? April sent me an email, and she had sorted everything so that that would come up first, okay? That was great. But if it's possible to put a link in the agenda to the resolution, to the ordinance, to the extra this, to the extra that, that would be great. If that's possible, to put a link within the agenda, or to have a section that is everything pertaining to this particular meeting for this particular night, have it in one little box, and then move everything else to its final resting place, which I think is fantastic the way it's outlined right now. Okay, you have a section for Verizon, you got a section for the proposed ordinances, first reading, second reading, and everything else, so that's all good, okay? And on the same note, there's like a lot of talk about the grants, different grants and everything. Can we get a section for grants put in there? Where, here are the, did we get a grant writer too? I know we...
Yes.
We did, okay, so we got a grant writer. So what
Well,
grants...
not only a grant writer, they actually search for grants, and they also advise us of the grants, and we select ones that are appropriate, you know, for a town like Belmar.
Okay, so that when we have ones that are selected, they can be placed up here in this section. These are the grants that we're working on. Here's what, the status of them. They've been approved. We've spent the money. We received the money. You know, and then we can.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting reports from them now. We can just put it up on the. We get a monthly report.
Yeah, and then
you'll
this way,
see how much money we're getting in
yeah, because
grants.
I think we had a grant last year, whenever it was, for ADA improvements, that they're going to do sidewalks or curbs down here at Piano Plaza. And that was never done, but that money might still be sitting out there waiting to be spent, maybe on my curbs or something like that. Or whatever, okay? So just food for thought, all right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one more thing.
Oh, you passed
No.
Once you move away from the mic, it's over. No, go ahead. Just kidding.
I'll be happy to cover 18th and B. When Maria's sitting on 12th and A, I'll take 18th and B.
We'll take your taxes reduced.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Drew Fromkin, South Lake Drive. Just a couple quick questions. The Historical Society reference, I've heard that a couple times, and it just hits my sort of radar on the fact that we're in a real intense interaction with Verizon. I was just curious, because I don't know the answer to this. This was an incoming request from a Verizon representative. Okay, so given, I think we made a great move by getting an excellent attorney now to represent us. I think that was the appropriate activity. Are all those things funneling through that individual now when we get requests related to this matter in general to determine how we handle that? Because I'm sure these inquiries have an ultimate objective, and we've got a great attorney now. We should be determining whether we even want to respond to those things.
Everything that comes in pretty much comes into the municipal clerk, April.
Okay.
And then she distributes it to either myself, Mr. Kane, and then we distribute it to, you know, if it's Mr. Lupo, we send him a loop, or if it's, you know, Mr. McGill, we send it that way.
Okay.
So we are making sure that the appropriate attorney or engineers or whatever get the information that's coming into the municipal clerk.
Okay. I would just ask that, I just having had a lot of experience with corporate litigation and these kinds of things, that when we get someone really sharp who's litigating something and we get inquiries from the other party, that having all of that run through that litigator, or at least acknowledging that that is occurring, we might be able to get some input as to how we might want to handle that in a way that will, you know, support our objectives. They're going to throw things at us from every angle to understand our weak underbelly, and I would suggest that we've got a really sharp person representing us, but I appreciate that. Thank you. And my only other question, which is not a catch-you question, is really, again, I'm just trying to really understand it. The Seafood Festival, how do we look at profitability and, you know, the results of that? You had said 60K. I assume that's net?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so it'd be really interesting at some point when you get a chance and you have all the figures. I'm not as worried about it tomorrow versus, you know, in 6 months, but it'd be great to just see the breakdown of that, even at a macro level, just to understand how that goes. And congratulations that we put something in our pockets.
Thank you. Thank you.
To interject here, that I can confirm that Mr. Lupo and I had a meeting specific to that request.
Okay. So, yeah, I think I would just recommend anything perhaps related to that. Thank you.
Hi, Mayor and Council. I'm just curious, when you do the study for traffic, if there's some way you can consider zoning for parking. I live at 701 Main Street, sorry if I didn't say that, Perry and Townsend, and we're having an issue with our parking. We have 6 slots for 6 individuals that live there. It says parking by permit. It's not enforced because, of course, we don't get permits because there's no zoning for the town. So you have businesses on Main Street that are parking there. You also have Amped Fitness. You have the whale watching. You have tiki boats. I'm very happy that we have all this new business. But now, because we put all these paid parking areas in that vicinity, they're all going up 7th and they're all parking there. So my issue is, especially on Saturday morning, which I know you know because my neighbor called you, we have to move our cars for 2 hours when the street sweeper comes through. He doesn't clean it, but whatever, that's fine. We all get nailed with tickets because we don't have any place to park. So I'm just hoping that we can somehow address this. When I first moved here, I was advised that we could park behind the police station, but now that's become all paid parking. And I'm going to talk on behalf of all our residents, as we don't feel it's fair. We should have to pay to park, and that we should be getting nailed with these tickets. And I talked to the street cleaner, he said he'd clean it, because we're all busting our butts to move these cars, but we don't have anywhere to park. So I hope that can be addressed sometime in the future. This has been going on for years. The last administration just threatened to take all the parking away, but where are we going to park?
That was one of the reasons for the parking, for the traffic study too, is to include parking, to see, you know, where we have it, should we have more, should we have less, what can we do about it, and that's all part and parcel of the traffic study.
Okay.
You could call it a traffic/parking study.
Okay.
That's really what it's going to boil down to.
Right, because we have 6 people and they're very frustrated and upset because we pay taxes, we live there. We live there. We're not transients, we're not tourists. So we'd like to know where we can actually park. I appreciate the new businesses, I'm very happy for Belmar, but like I said, we'd always like to have a place to park as well.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you for consideration.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Susan Giordano. I am 6th Ave, across the street from the gazebo and the lake. It's a beautiful area. However, the quality of the lake has gone down drastically. It's green, and the geese, a huge amount of geese, they are now coming across the street, pooping on the street, the sidewalks, the residents' grasses. I know I've missed, I tried calling your secretary or assistant, and, you know, I didn't hear or we didn't connect. I'd like to know what's going on with the lake and if we can, you know, help the lake out and the geese problem.
The geese, I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the meeting, but we did say that I'm working on a bid to hire a vendor who will basically use border collies to chase the geese away. And it's a process that takes time, but ultimately it works and it will keep the geese away at a cost, obviously, to the taxpayers, but it will definitely have a big improvement on the lake. So that's going to take a little time. I think it's important we try to get it in before September because, from what I understand, the migrating geese come back in October. So
they're all over the place, and the poor kids, St. Rose High School.
Everybody has a problem.
The kids are, the dogs, everybody's in it, and we're bringing it into our homes.
As far as the lake goes, you know, I was just looking at something over the weekend. There's a Monmouth County, a Monmouth University group that studies the 12 lakes in Monmouth County. It's called CLONET, C-L-O-N-E-T, and they do monitoring of the lake. They measure for oxygen and how clear it is, and a couple of other basic things, and they plot this all across, you know, like they do it maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And, you know, pretty much when you look at the graph, all the lakes in Monmouth County are pretty much in the same position. You know, there's nothing unusual going on with the lake right now. It's, you know, as far as I can see, I walked around it twice the other day, there are no algae blooms. There might be 1 or 2, I mean, But, you know, that's a natural phenomenon that happens in all the lakes.
It's getting green, it's getting bad.
But we are, we're definitely going to have somebody in conjunction with the controlling of the geese to start looking at the whole, you know, vegetation issue around the lake to see if we can do something to stop making it so inviting for geese to land, you
Is
know,
somebody
in that
working on
area.
this now? Are they
Excuse me?
working on it now?
We're going to reach out for that person. That's a long-term project, though. That's, you know, that's going to take months to change what's planted in the area, and you know, certain flowers are good, certain, you know, are not. So we're going to have to. That's going to take a little time, but that's really the long-term solution to the geese problem. Did you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, Mayor, I was just going to add, that's an eco-architect designer that
Yeah.
we've reached out to, who's currently out of the country. She's due back. We're going to be getting together early August, but they talk about the change being a habitat modification. So what they do, as far as the quality of the water, that's tested on a monthly basis. They were there today. We'll be getting the report tomorrow. And if treatment's needed, they treat it. That's an ongoing thing through DPW. But we're gonna be talking to, you know, besides working on the geese issue, talking to this eco-architect designer about habitat modification and all that. It's a long-term process, as the mayor said.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
We've
Belmar,
initiated.
I don't think Belmar wants that area to go down because there's weddings there, and all kinds of events at that gazebo, picture taking, and I mean, it's just beautiful. So I'd like to see it beautiful. So that's all. Okay.
We're definitely going to keep it that way.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Creamer?
Eugene Creamer, 4th Avenue. I was speaking to a friend of mine, actually he lives in Seagirt, and we see all this construction going on in town, new houses, renovations, etc. And we've had, I guess, problems with porta potties. And you've probably seen it, if there's a porta potty at a work site, it's pretty much open to any contractor driving down the road.
I had it next to my house.
Okay.
2 years ago.
And actually, it's going on at Si's house, which is right on the corner here from where you live. What Seagirt has done is anybody that is having work done on their property where a porta potty is necessary, that it be turned around so that the door actually faces the house, not the street. I saw over this weekend at the corner of 5th and C, actually on City Street, I guess it was the night of fireworks, that porta potty became the place to go. Anybody walking down
The answer is what we did. You contact the builder and you ask them to put a lock on it. That's what we had to do. Put a lock on the porta potty, and then when the construction people get there in the morning, they unlock it. We had people stop the cars. They stop. They're driving up the street. They stop. They get out and they go in the porta potty. They come back. So finally, we said, you know what? Just put a lock on it.
Yeah, well,
That's really the answer.
Yeah, actually having the door facing the street, they can see, number one, if there is a lock on it or not. The other thing is, but if it's, apparently if the door is facing the property, it's questionable then, and they won't have less a tendency to stop and make things. The other thing I wanted to mention, and I had distributed a guide to handicap parking in New Jersey, and I was going to ask you to take a look at that when you have a chance. It's very interesting reading. If you read that and you comprehend everything that's in there, you will be an expert on handicap parking. At the last meeting here, we had, by the way, normally I do park in a handicap accessible space, but at the last meeting, and we have, I think it counted had 7 within 200 feet of the municipal building here. And, you know, designated sign, handicapped accessible parking places. Well, at the last meeting, apparently we had a very large crowd of handicapped people. And I think this is going to, number one, there was no, by the time I got here, there were no handicapped accessible parking spaces when I arrived. I did look out, somebody was pulling out of a regular parking space and I pulled in. Well, in any case, I think what can be anticipated from what I read about this assembly of people with the circle of friends at the Taylor Pavilion, that at a minimum, there's going to be, if the supply, you know, the demand exceeded the supply here at the municipal building with 7 handicapped parking spaces, and those people now are going to be assembling down at the Taylor Pavilion, that at a minimum, that there should be available 7 handicapped parking spaces at the Taylor Pavilion. Well, in any case, I rode down on my scooter down to the Taylor Pavilion, and on the ocean side, by the Taylor Pavilion, there's 1 handicapped parking space, only 1. There is space in front of the building, but it's marked no parking, and apparently it's used, I don't know whether there's people that work for the borough or what have you. But I also looked across the street where there was some parking around Silver Lake. Well, I did see 2 handicapped parking spaces over there, but only the pavement was marked. There was no signage. And from what I understand, no sign. The Belmar Police Department cannot enforce handicapped parking regulations. Although those spaces would be across the street, they're not the preferred, not preferred parking, handicapped parking spaces. If you have to cross Ocean Avenue to get over to the Taylor Pavilion. Anyhow, I think the town should take a look and see what can be done in the immediate area of the Taylor Pavilion in order to provide some handicapped parking there. Like I said, when they were here at this building, and I think they're anticipated, 2 shifts of 7 volunteers, and the volunteer people would be disabled people.
Well, I don't know if that's relevant, but I mean, I think many of them will be being dropped off. But I agree with you 100%. I don't know how those handicapped spots were initially created, or why there's only 1 here and 1 there, and 2 here, 2 there. I mean, we should look at all of that. I think there should be more spots along the boardwalk to start with. I mean, I drive along there, and it's 1 here, 1 there. So I'll sit down with Mr. McGill again, and we'll look at the rules and see if there's any guidelines on how many spots there should be, or is it just something that we can basically decide on. But I agree with you. It needs to be looked at completely.
Yeah. Actually, on the west side, it's even worse. It's private property on the west side, except for around the lake and down the Lake Como. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, the only place that has a handicapped parking space, designated handicapped parking space, is at the 7-Eleven. And that's because it's a national franchise organization that organization pushes that down to the individual franchise locations. And you see the same thing with the Burger King, McDonald's, and so on. And Actually, now when you go on all this development with ShopRite and Acme and Aldi on Route 35 here in Wall Township, you'll find that, of course, the best parking spaces, the ones closest to the door, are all handicapped, laid out. I was going to mention something tonight about the boathouse liquor license. I mean, I don't have any objection to that, but at one time, not that long ago, before the pandemic, the boathouse had a handicapped parking space right on the corner of 15th Avenue and Main Street. But unfortunately, I guess with the social distancing and restaurants and eateries were being encouraged to move people outside instead of serving them in, being a crowded situation indoors. But hopefully at some time in the near future, there won't be a need for that. And actually, with the weather the way it's been, I don't know why anybody would be outside. It's so damn hot and humid. And by the way, you mentioned Silver Lake. One of the reasons that Silver Lake, number one, I could tell the water level is extremely low. And we really haven't had rain in over a month.
True.
The rest of the state has been flooded. But you see those storms coming from the west. And they get to about...
They go right around us.
They freehold, they stop there, and they go around us, and we just don't get the rain.
You're right.
Everybody's going on his drive.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Come on up, Joe.
Well,
Your turn.
I'm last. Veterans Row was Hi, I'm Eugene Kramer and I live on 4th.
Hi.
I'm Charlie Lagoon and my family and I live on 4th.
Hi.
Well, after tonight, after this, I feel kind of silly, but I want to talk about surf fishing. I was accosted, no, I just was met by, I think, a public works guy on a gator. He had a nice tan, he works for the town, he wasn't a gray shirt as he referred to the police. And he basically told me that there's an ordinance here that says there's no fishing, surf fishing, on your beach, on this beach that we live on, 365 days a year, 7 days a week, blah, 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 and if he sees me out there, he'll give me a ticket, just a bunch of, whatever. So, I live on 4th, right there. That's all I want to do is surf fish. So, this guy, he got me.
Can I just ask you, what time of the day was this?
This was at 6 o'clock at night. Okay. So, no, it's not going to be a long story because I haven't scripted anything, but I don't want to, anyway. Anyways, you look at your 12 do's and don'ts. Basically, you look at the don'ts, and there's no surf fishing, anything on there. If you ask the lifeguards and you wait until 5:30 and they leave, the lifeguards say, go ahead. Go ahead. As long as you're not bopping anybody, disrespectful, anything like that, you can be like a surfer. But if you look in your antiquated 130, 140 page regulations, there's this little crazy thing that says you are not allowed to surf fish any time of the year in the bathing areas. So what he was kind of saying to me is we're relegated to walking out on the jetties and risking our lives, and we're allowed to fish there anytime we want, but we can't fish on the beach proper even after hours. And I don't know, I'm a resident, but I've only been here about a year, so I don't know what crazy, I'm sure somebody's come before me, but I don't know. But all I'm saying is that I think if you can't do, at least relax them a little. I think that the fishermen, surf fishermen, maybe could be, have the status of dogs and be allowed on the beach after Labor Day, and then, get off on Memorial Day. If I had, if I could hit a home run, I would say, give us the status of being allowed after 5:30 as long as we're respectful. You allow it for the surfers, and I don't know if you guys have ever been hit by a surfboard, but they're dangerous too, and I just fish. I stay out of people's way. I don't think it's a good thing to encourage people to walk on the jetties and fish, because I don't know, I'll probably kill myself. And also, after 5:30, why are we encouraging swimming anyways? I mean, what you're basically telling me is that if I'm not out there, and a lot of people swim after 5:30, after they leave, wouldn't it be better to have an idiot fisherman like me out there to watch, to see if somebody got in trouble than to not have me out there? So, I don't know where to begin. I'm not really good with politics. I don't know anything about anything. All I know is I live there, and I don't think it would be too much to ask to maybe check this out, to maybe, change this, relax it, and, let me fish on the beach that I live on and plan to die on.
I agree with you. I mean, I think the ordinances should reflect common sense.
Mayor,
So I think
it is an old ordinance.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense to me.
Back many years ago, the Belmar used to have barrels, and they were the swimming areas, so
Yeah.
I could see why you would.
Bathing.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Bathing. It's such an antiquated term, it's bathing.
Well, I don't have a problem with that, but, it does say no fishing in the bathing areas. And
so they probably
now-
meant the
so
barrel.
Now the entire ocean is the bathing
Right,
area,
right,
but
right.
that can't be because you would just simply say no surf fishing, and then
Right.
nobody would write such an ordinance. So
Makes sense.
it made sense. I actually was swimming one time, and the ropes were there,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
had the barrels attached, and I got hooked up on a treble hook that was kind of a popper or something like that. So in any event, that's why I guess that ordinance was in effect, but now we don't use barrels, of course. So, but we do use flags, but still the flags come down. So
And after a certain time,
we need
it's
to
really
look
not
at that
relevant.
and decide what we want to do with surf fishing and what makes sense. And
Yeah, I mean,
this ordinance, I think,
it's going.
it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so if you
To encourage me to get, the 30-year-old me would have been really hot right now. The 60-year-old is.
Yeah, no,
I'm like, to encourage me to walk out on a jetty.
Unfortunately, the ordinances, many ordinances just kind of like outlived their usefulness.
Yeah.
And it's a process of going through them, people like you bringing them up and, making us realize that that's, I've fished on the beach, early in the morning.
There's perfect. I took a picture. I was on the beach at 6 o'clock tonight too. I took a picture of 2 people fishing that there too. But now that I know, I'm a rule guy. So now you've kind of ruined it for me because I'm also a resident.
I'm sorry.
Charlie, go, trust me, go fishing.
We'll check,
It sounds like someone overstepped their authority a little bit.
Oh, the 30-year-old Charlie would have got in his face, but the 60-year-old one just says, I'm okay. And my wife and kids appreciate that. Like, what is the next step for me? I want to be, I want to be polite. I want to be a nice citizen. Like I said, I've only been here since December, but I plan to live and die here, and I'd like to fish off my beach.
I think we can change the ordinance, but in the meantime, we can let the people know on the beach and the guards and the police that
the guards have,
surf fishing is fine as long as it's not.
There's a big disconnect between the guards and the people who drive the gators. The guards are like, go ahead, Charlie, do whatever you want, as long as it's 5:30, as long as you're not casting out over people, all this stuff. Just like you would, you've asked the surfers to be respectful. They're respectful, and we can be respectful.
Yeah, we'll handle it. It'll be. Go
Oh,
surf fishing.
I left a couple messages with April, and now I know why you didn't call me back. Yeah, you have better fish to fry. I get it, but it's just I feel silly. But
no, you're not silly.
All right.
Thanks. Anyone else? Joe?
Joe McAvoy, 700 Main Street, Your Honor. I just want to talk to Councilwoman Rondinaro.
If I get emotional, Councilwoman, you know me long enough. I'm not going to put a gun to my head. Councilwoman Rondinaro, I feel sorry for the young adults with special needs. As I mentioned to you before, I volunteer weekly with an autistic young man, and I'm proud to say he's come a long way since I've helped him out. We've talked about that. I get angry with my God when I see kids like that and parents what they have to go through. And I had a cousin who died when I was young, cerebral palsy, and he was my best friend. And there's always a middle ground if you're willing to look for one, even these days of heavy bipartisanship. I found a middle ground when it came to the pride flag raising. I came with a pink shirt on. I came to represent the men and women I served that had to serve in anonymity for so many years. And I always thought that gays shouldn't be able to serve in the military because I didn't have anything against gays. I have a gay cousin as well, his brother of the cerebral palsy cousin. And I always thought it would just deteriorate combat efficiency. And that was my take on it. And then one of my Marines sent me a photograph once of about 20 caskets in the back of a C-130 coming back from Afghanistan. And he said, "Hey Matt, tell me which casket has the gay Marine in it." And social media changed my mind like that. It's been changed a lot. Changed my mind about the windmills. 5 months ago, I thought they were a great idea. They're not. This woman from the Environmental Commission, Colleen Palis, she thinks the 5G towers are going to harm the birds and the fish, or I'm sorry, the birds and the dolphins and the whales. But she thinks the wind towers are just a great idea because Joe Biden thinks it's a great idea and Phil Murphy thinks it's a great idea, and they're not. They're horrible. They're absolutely horrible. Even if you take the whales, the cetaceans out of the equation, they're absolutely horrible. And they're not even going to go up. They're already obsolete, but that's for another day. I came to the gay pride flag raising, and I found a middle ground because I don't believe in that flag anymore. For 50 years I did, but now every year, just like the BLM movement, it starts to become more and more of a fundraiser for the far left of the Democratic Party, far left wing, the Democratic Party. My girlfriend's oldest flies helicopters for the Army, which is a branch of the service, and along with the Navy. And he's a gay man. He got punched in the face at the Pride Parade in DC on the Mall last month when a homeless guy called him a faggot. And he disagrees with that flag. And he worked for Congressman Crenshaw, Dan Crenshaw, the former Navy special operator who lost an eye, congressman from Texas, who also served with the Gay SEAL. And yeah, so there were even gay special operators in the Air Force that I served with. And I didn't realize 2 years later, but they're all friends of mine. I keep in touch with all of them. And of course, I talk to Corbin at least once every couple of weeks. Like I said, I lost plenty of friends when I endorsed the three of you for mayor and council. I don't really miss them, and I have new friends. If the Capoli family were truly your friends, they would have understood. They would have understood, listen, this guy's your president, not only the president of the charity, then we found out his former council president was also on the board of directors. And then we found out his former business administrator was also on that board of directors. And that's why they came in with pitchforks and torches that week. And the mayor talked down to a lot of people. And it wasn't a good thing. But 3 years ago, it didn't rent out. They backed out of the deal 3 years ago. 2 years ago, they backed out of the deal because they couldn't make money. Last year,
Sorry, I missed you.
Taylor Pavilion, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I got to clarify. Taylor Pavilion deal, the rental agreement. Super Savers Market didn't make any money, and they let it be known all over town. You can't make money up there at $5,000 a month. It went up to bid for $5,000 a month, and nobody bid on it. It went up to bid a second time, and Marketing 101 would tell you, there's a trend, let's lower the price. There's $7,500, $7,500, just over, in the Circle of Friends $1 Million GoFundMe page. And I was told by a resident that Matt Doherty and his ex-wife have more money than they know what to do with. Just shut your mouth. So if they do, then maybe they could have before, because I know they were shopping for McCann's in Lake Como. They were willing to spend $1.2 million on that building. So, you know, it was deemed that it was structurally deficient, and they didn't make the deal on that. I hope they're successful. I hope the parents and the kids do well up there. It's going to be a tough crowd up there, but I wish they had a smaller year-round place in town that they can go. But I want to speak about Joy DeSantis, who passed away. She was a lawyer, and she was a whistleblower in this town. She was an Italian woman, and she exposed Matt Doherty for a lot of criminal activity. And when she acquired cancer, she passed away from cancer, and they put in to the Shade Tree Commission to plant a tree in her honor in a local park. And the police came and said, you can't do the ceremony. People flew in from the West Coast, drove down from Canada, all over. And Matt Doherty weaponized the police. Once again, Belmar's a microcosm of what goes on nationally. And they stopped the ceremony. That's the kind of person we're dealing with, okay? That's all I'm gonna say about that. You have a bigger obligation to the community at large. If you do the right thing, you have to realize that, you know, we'll back you. And it's tough. I know it is. But you gotta find the middle ground on a lot of these issues. I asked John Walsh for the video, because the pride flag ceremony, the kid gave a beautiful speech. He grew up in Belmar. He praised George Comatus for his help in elementary school. It was really a good thing. But he sends me the video 10 days later, and by then it's down at the bottom of the residence page, and I'm not going to rehash it. People were back and forth, and I didn't know what to say about it. But everybody was there when you were running for office, with information, with videos, with replies, with phone calls. And I don't call you. I don't call. I don't send you messages. I don't send you letters. I send George a quick message if the flag's up too long. I don't bother you, right? I don't bother you. I come in here and I air it out for God and everybody, right here, in front of God and everybody. And but if the Cavolis had looked into Matt Doherty's history of poor fiscal leadership and cronyism, as well as his low popularity among the politically active on both sides of the aisle, they may have made a wiser choice for president of their nonprofit. We're not angry old men yelling for people to get off our lawn. We're desperate residents who have been preyed upon enough by the wolves in this town, pleading with you to simply help them as their elected leadership. Don't choose force over power, as the last two administrations often did. I think you've done a great job. Every once in a while, we have to remind our elected local small town officials, as uncomfortable as it may be, that they don't work for their special interests, their cronies, Freehold, Hudson County, or Trenton. They work for us. I was going to address Dr. Kinney. She's not here tonight. I'll talk to her in 2 weeks.
Joe, can I respond to you before?
Sure,
just
absolutely.
as you were responding to me?
Absolutely.
First,
Yes,
I wanted to say thank you again for your service
You
to
don't
the
have to
country.
thank me. We just all want to be treated the same. We don't need free beach badges. We just want everybody to be treated the same.
Well, I just wanted to put that out there. I'm also
Yes, ma'am.
sorry for the loss of your cousin.
Yeah.
I know that for me, and whether this is, whether you believe that are not, for me, whomever the circle of friends deemed their president was, and who came forward, was who I was going to listen to. That was the voice of the circle of friends, which is a charitable organization that you and I both care about.
I agree. I would have voted yes
So-
at that point. It was an ugly baby at that point, and with the kids and the parents, I would have voted yes.
So I just want to put that out there, that whether, people believe me or not, that was not a political choice. That was a social one for me.
That's what I wanted to hear from
Yeah.
somebody. That's what I wanted to hear from the leadership. That's good. And I believe,
And as far as the Pride flag, I really appreciate your being there.
sure,
I think it shows a wonderful coming together of our community. I do know that there were people who were upset about us having a Pride flag raising, and I have to be honest that as someone who is a social worker and worried and dealing with people who are suicidal, that there was some Facebook back and forth that I found hurtful and detrimental. And I didn't know whether we should even continue to put out video or to comment. Even myself, this was a
I didn't even
moment.
touch it. And I
This was a
usually moderate,
moment
but
for
I
me
didn't.
that felt very special.
Sure.
So special. And even I didn't blast it.
right.
Because I knew that the community wasn't fully behind it in the way that I felt that those people deserved.
Yes. I agree.
And so I appreciate your coming to us about it. I am, like I said in the beginning of the meeting, I do apologize for the American flags not being put down Main Street.
Oh,
in the
no, they're not
banners.
even flags. They're pieces of plastic with a flag picture. They're not even.
I
never complained about the flags not being on Main Street.
Well, that was
We
something
got
that
enough
I did
flags.
see.
We got
You
enough
know.
flags. George is busy enough with
Yeah.
the flags. The flags
And I
are
do
great.
know-
There's lights on them. We're doing fine.
There were some people who, took issue with, apparently there were a few days, it was a few days late to take down the Pride flag. For that, next year we'll be on top of that too.
I didn't notice that, yeah.
But I am grateful that we were able to fly it for those who it meant so much to. And I'm hoping that we can make sure we can also highlight other members of our community. I know that I had seen something where people wanted for Police Week, our unity flag to go up, and I certainly think that that should be considered. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to talk to Dr. Kinney, I guess, in 2 weeks, and that's about it. But for $150,000 a year, phone calls need to get returned. I mean, a lot of these people are a pain in the ass. I know I am, but I don't call, I don't send emails, I don't send inquiries. I take care of my own problems on my own block with my neighbors. We take care of a lot of issues. I've only called the police once in 28 years of living here, because I had to, or I would have hurt somebody. But for $150,000 a year, every single phone call should get returned. And if you can't do it, you got to delegate authority to somebody who can. If it's a DPW question, Billy, and if Billy can't do it, he'll delegate it to George and on the way down. But, these are my friends, they're residents. Like I said, my veteran friends in this town are so frustrated and aggravated with what went on in the last 3 council meetings, and hopefully we can get away from that and we can heal the town. And I know the new councilwoman, she's just outstanding, and she voted yes, but what she had to say was just perfect. And she was questioned on that, I'm sure, by certain people, but she'll probably be a future mayor of this town. I mean, the Republicans are going to remember in November, it's only 4 short months away. Hopefully that won't hurt. And Vicki Renner's a great woman too. She's done a lot for Belmar. It's a win-win. Male and female brains are different. With the males we get bigger, faster, farther, shiny things, and with the women, and that's why I talk to you when I come up here. We get empathy and we get humanity. But there's homeless living in 10 cities in West Belmar. And we got to take care of those people, because the repeat offenders that live on inlet terrace, if he was black, he'd be in jail. If he was gay, he'd be ostracized. But he's a rich white male, and he keeps getting over. And I'm done. I'm done with it. This town's done with it. This town needs to heal and get away from that. Doesn't matter if he can put your picture, your name in the paper or the headlines. my name never better ever show up in that Tap Into News Network. Because if my name ever shows up there, I'm gonna go right to Mahoney, the detective from narcotics, and I'm gonna give him the name of his alleged cocaine dealer who lives on 13th Avenue. So my name never better ended up in that Tap Into News Network, and he better distance himself from the good people in this town and stop giving people a hard time, because I'll get right in the gutter with him and I'll take it. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I'll talk to Dr. Kim. Congratulations. Mark, real quick, I'm sorry. The buoy a half mile out, Shark River, that's been gone, right, for years?
For at least 3 years.
Yeah, it's still on the last administration. It's still on the Belmar Marina website. And people are, mariners are looking for it. And God forbid if was it just a sounding buoy? I don't think it had a light on it.
It was just a gong. I think there was one light on it as well.
But it's not there anymore, and it's still on the Marina website. And I appreciate you moving the channel markers. I know Jake Ferd appreciates it too. And I appreciate you getting the...
Well, I take no credit for that. It was the state police who did that.
State police, all right. I thought it was the Coast Guard. And if I have offended anybody in the Coast Guard, I got to say, when I served in Air Force Rescue, the Coast Guardsmen, former Coast Guardsmen we had, were some of the best. I said they're a boat club, but they're a very necessary boat club, and somebody got offended. I'm sorry. But I've heard a lot of bad things about the Marine Corps too. I could care less. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Any other questions, comments?
Can I have a motion to close the public session and adjourn the meeting?
Motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hoorah!